fancy. Fancy pantsy, my mic, my pretty lights, a 6-shotter. You know we mean business here at The Good Dog. You don't have 6 shots, I don't know if you mean business. You might mean monkey business, but not real business. Guys, let's talk. Let's talk turkey, let's talk. A couple things. I was just reading some comments off of Facebook, off that lovely video post with the Weimaraner puppy, 5-month-old Weim, who's been making the owners' lives very challenging with mouthing and stealing food from the kids and knocking over the kids and counter surfing and just being a general pain in the rear. We did e-collar work with the dog, and like we do with all the dogs here, and he is awesome. And all of those behaviors that were problematic and challenging and causing stress for the owners and causing them to raise their voice to the dog, cause them to be upset or frustrated with the dog, or cause them to be concerned about their kids, all went away. And the comments, mostly like smart people on there that know the deal and understand how consequences work in the entire world, the totality of the world, except for dogs. The smart folks are on there like, yeah, the dog looks great, da-da-da-da, he's recalling nice. Like, how many 5-month-old pups can like have that really great, good stuff? Like, not a lot of them have that stuff, especially like under distraction. And then you get this, you know, the whole gang shows up, and the gang shows up typically from the UK, and they all message each other and they say, hey, go over to Sean's page, you know, Sean's page, and let's hassle him. And just comment after comment of like, I never needed to train with pain. The owners should be ashamed of themselves. The owners, you know, that's a working breed. He shouldn't be in that house. He should be like, where? You know, it just runs down the whole list of all the usual tossed out BS comments about don't train with pain, don't use fear, dogs should be trained with kindness, love, and positivity, and none of this is necessary, and it's for lazy trainers and lazy owners, and there's always an excuse, and there's always a reason, there's always someone to trash, rather than just zipping your mouth or zipping your fingers and looking at the dog and going, that dog looks great. And you know what's funny? They even look at the dog and they're like, the dog looks, and this is so typical for any of you guys who don't live in the like dog trainer world where all the silliness goes on. You are so blessed. But they're like, he's yawning and he's scratching and he's stressed and he's shut down. Really? Looked like he was having a pretty good time to me. Is he scratching? Yeah, he's scratching because like, dogs, when they're around their owners, you know how many times if you've actually done board and trains, you've actually trained a bunch of dogs, you'll see dogs do all sorts of nervous behaviors when the owners show up because they're so freaking excited. So we see dogs scratch at stuff. We see dogs like bite their tail. What he was doing in the video a lot was biting his tail and doing stuff like that because he's just like trying to contain himself. But all of that stuff gets viewed through the lens of being negative crappy if that's what you want to view it as. So I don't want this to be a big negative, ugly Q&A beginning, but I just happened to read it before I turned the camera on, and so it pissed me off because those owners just went home with that dog and they're so excited and they're so happy and they're imagining being on a dog beach and being able to recall the dog back or take the dog, you know, on hikes or take the dog and have a more included, bigger, wider, enjoyable life where they don't have to be frustrated, don't have to be annoyed, where the kids are safe, where the food is safe. Sounds terrible. Sounds really terrible, right? And then you see the dog and the dog's like goofy and doing its thing. All this propaganda, guys, is just that. It's propaganda, it's crap, and people are trying to scare people from using tools and methods that work because it's in their ideology. And the crazy thing is that the tools are not causing any of the stuff that these people are talking about. The tools aren't causing these dogs to become these messes that they're talking about. And on top of that, the other part that's wild and woolly to me, the biggest part, is that for some reason dogs are the only creature on this planet that don't need and shouldn't be held to the same standard or work within the same framework of life as the rest of the creatures on the planet, where consequences, negative consequences for negative behaviors, teach the dog how to move through the world. They're the only creature. They're the only one. They shouldn't get that. Everybody else, humans, kids are humans too. Humans, smaller humans, other animals, they all should have consequences so they can learn and so they can be their best. But dogs, because of the emotional crap that people project on them, they should never have to deal with that. So what does it do? It leaves owners and dogs in the lurch, sucking, struggling, being put to sleep. Not the owners, hopefully. Dogs put to sleep, dogs rehomed, dogs being, distant members of the family relegated to the back room, locked up in a crate all the time, all this crap, simply because people won't share consequences with dogs for doing bad things, unwanted things, negative things, dangerous things, things that get them rehomed, to get them killed. It's unbelievable, guys. I don't get it. I hope someday that I can get it, and I hope someday I can make an impact, or we as a group can make an impact on turning this around, because it is so much silliness, and the ones that are losing are dogs and owners. Anyways, all of us trainers, we do great because they just keep sending us dogs after they've been through all these other trainers. So we're doing great. So why am I shouting it from the mountaintop? Because the dogs and owners are losing, and we want to help you guys. So anyways, that's just a little side note tirade. Sorry, I'm a little bit worked up about that. With that, let's talk about some of the other stuff that's going on that's a little more positive. Okay, the book. The book. Where's my freaking book? The book is selling like hotcakes. The book is doing really good. The book's reviews are amazing. I'm so grateful. Everybody's been so kind and sharing pictures of their dogs with the book and sending me PMs and emails and messages and comments just about how much they're enjoying it. So we're super, super, super thrilled. We're almost caught up. I know we've been super slow, putting it together. Anybody who hasn't seen why, the reason being is because we decided to do an in-house thing, small operation thing. And a lot of that had to do with going to Amazon for the kind of book we created, with all the color pictures and everything being we just made it really expensive to produce. So if we went to Amazon, it would have to be more expensive. So we decided we wanted to start off with a lower price point book, especially for all you peeps that were on the inside tip at get-go. So that's the deal. We hope you guys can remain patient with us. They're all going out. I hassle Shelby every single day. We've got a second person on the job with Shelby trying to get him out. So the books will be there. If they're not in your hands by end of May, then let's talk. But anybody who ordered in April, just hang tough. Just chill out. If you ordered in May, really hang tough. We're getting to them. It'll all get handled. Your books aren't lost. No one's forgotten about you. It's just a small operation, and we really appreciate your patience, and we really appreciate you buying them. So that's the book thing. It's high stress, and we're so trying to get it sorted out to where we get it to you as quick as possible. We'll definitely be going to Amazon at some point down the line, but that will mean an increase in price point, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through to get there, so we'll be there soon. There's also a digital version of the book coming out soon, which is super exciting for those of you who prefer to do a digital thing and have it with you, maybe in your Kindle or something like that, or on your iPad, or however the hell digital version books work, because I've never used one. That'll be out any day now, and we'll post and let you guys know about that. But that's super exciting, especially for those of you folks maybe who live overseas and don't want to deal with the cost of shipping and all that. So that's exciting. On top of that, there's an audio version coming, and that I'm really excited about. Haven't done it yet. I'll probably go down to New Orleans where we cut our audio version or our audio voiceover stuff for all of our DVDs. Or actually, I'm sorry, just for our e-color DVD. Because it was so much fun and the guy was so cool. So I'll probably fly down there and do the audio version. And the audio version is gonna be, it's gonna kill. The audio version is gonna be super awesome. The audio version is going to have all the book, and then I'm gonna add on and like add extra pieces as I go and kind of share other insights, corresponding pieces to it that should deepen the experience and make it really special and unique. So it'll almost be like 2 books, which I'm really excited about. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't tell you when that's going on, not because it's top secret, but because I don't know. So hopefully in the next like couple of weeks to a month, I'll get down there, spend a handful of days and get an audiobook out to you. Other than the great book challenge, we've got Peanut, and you guys know Peanut is that really intense pittie. Peanut's coming along, we're working our butts off. We should have some new video up of Peanut coming soon, and you know, just working the program and problem solving. And as you guys saw, a lot of you folks really appreciated seeing like kind of the up and down with Peanut, and so it was pretty cool to be able to show you guys how things don't always work in a nice natural arc. They rarely do. And so show a bit of that, but with, you know, with the knowledge that we're headed in a good direction. So we always get our man, and we will get this one as well. So that's that, I think. Well, and if you followed me on Instagram or Facebook, which I'm sure you are if you're watching this, you probably saw me and Ashley Smintek from Gold Hill Canine came down, and we went to Arizona to visit my folks, but also to have a little bit of man time, some people said man-child time, and have some fun and really cook around. Did off-roading. I tried to scare Ashley, but he's not really scareable. Went to Sedona, went all over the place. Jerome, just had a blast. And it was really good to recharge the batteries, especially coming off a week of like being sick and not feeling good. So it was just what the doctor ordered. So with that, I say we jump into the show. You guys ready? Hey everybody, it's Sean from The Good Dog, and all the stuff that you can't see because Laura Morgan is elsewhere at her place. All this other stuff, Belle laying over there, some books that are going out for the damaged book like lottery thing we did. Those are sitting over there, and Manny's hiding out somewhere. All that stuff that you can't see, which probably doesn't really matter that much, makes up the Good Dogs Q&A Saturday episode number 134. And if I'm backwards, 134, right? So I can't go wrong. Right? You guys ready to jump in? Let's jump in.
Hey guys. Okay, so the baby in the bathroom, and he's over there just hanging out, and he's being quiet. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna roll with all of this as fast as I can. I love you guys so much. Thanks for bearing with us with this cross-city Q&A again. I'm really jealous of Sean's lighting and his sound and all that stuff when I'm just doing this little selfie camera and I have no makeup on. I just did my hair, so that accounts for something, but other than that, I look crazy, but you guys can handle it. But I'm gonna jump in because the boy is quiet. So, question number 1 comes from Alicia. Alicia says, my sister's American Bulldog is about 7 months old, who lacks confidence and has shown some fear aggression, especially towards tall men. She got him as an 8-week-old puppy and she socialized him, but he's just fearful. He'll try to hide first, but if he can't get away, he'll bark and lunge. Ooh, she's working with a trainer whose recommendation is to feed using puzzle toys and just not let strangers approach him. Ooh, I had that similar approach with Polar Bear. On one hand, I understand, but on the other hand, I think avoidance may prevent him from being uncomfortable or potentially hurting someone that doesn't respect his space, but it doesn't really help his lack of confidence or fearfulness. What do you think? From our research, American Bulldogs tend to be more fearful and wary of strangers. We're not expecting him to be a happy-go-lucky golden retriever, but we don't want his fear to end up getting him in trouble. Any tips or tricks? Do you agree with her trainer, or should we look for a new one? I think I know what Sean's gonna say. And just to throw in my 2 cents, it doesn't mean that the trainer's bad. It just may mean that the trainer just hasn't had experience with dogs that have these types of issues before. So take it away, Sean.
Okay, Alicia, I got notes for you, Alicia. So, I got an American bulldog who's fearful. Trainer's using like puzzles and a lot of avoidance and things like that. And your question is really, is this a good move? Is this taking me or taking the dog where we need the dog to be? So, we get these dogs all the time, right? Like fearful, unsure, you know, worried about the world, worried about humans, worried about dogs, worried about bags rolling around, whatever it might be. Let's say this. Food puzzles would not be anywhere on my list of things to help resolve any of that stuff, right? If someone's trying to sell you on a bill of goods of like that a food puzzle is going to help activate the mind or relax the mind, I'm just not down with it. It's not going to help create what you need to create, which is don't do that. Pay attention to me, pay attention to the training, don't pay attention to what you're worried about. That's what you're looking for, not food puzzles and not avoidance. So, food puzzles and avoidance are the two major things that you mentioned, right? Advocating for your dog, creating space, not letting people intrude, that's advocating. That's awesome. Running, hiding, I don't know what it looks like, but avoiding in a kind of like more concerned, worried, frantic kind of way, that's absolutely not what you're looking for. What you're looking for is to really create a foundation of awesome training. Just like I said, this is always our mantra. This is our foundational concept, which is create a really awesome training foundation where the dog learns to listen to the trainer and the training, not the nervous, insecurity, fearful, aggressive, whatever it might be in their head. And then the training overrides that. You start to remove those patterns and those habits of fear and insecurity or whatever it might be that's triggering it, and you replace them with, I don't care about that anymore. Why don't they care about it anymore? Because they've been corrected every time they get worried. And a lot of people are going to tell you that's the way to damage a dog, that's the way to create negative associations, that's the way you're going to make things worse. No, haven't seen it in over 1,000 dogs. All I know is when a dog gets worried and you don't do something to inhibit that worry, or I should say derail that worry and take the dog back down to a relaxed space, you're allowing that dog to practice worry, worry, worry. And what does that do? It just reinforces the habit and reinforces the emotional state. So, avoidance, food puzzles, none of that stuff's gonna happen. None of that stuff's gonna help. What you need is high structure, high leadership, accountability, lots of rules, the right tools. You need to have your dog walk right next to you in a perfect heel. You need your dog to, every time it looks at something that it gets worried about and starts to load up, correct it for that. Why? I wanna start creating new habits. Those new habits are, don't look at that, because when you look at that, you get worried, right? Instead, don't look at that correction. Oh, right, I gotta relax. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you guys, it goes so much against the grain of what so many people are preaching out there, but if you will correct or block the emotional habit pattern that cycles with dogs that are in any kind of weird state with triggers, and you block it enough, and you block it enough, and you block it enough, they stop worrying because, okay, I can't do this, which loads me up emotionally, so I just relax. I'll just avoid that. And maybe I'm uncomfortable even initially. Avoid it. I'm teetering on the edge. This is really hard. I'm trying to avoid the thing that I'm used to like freaking out at. Avoid. Just walk, walk, walk. And next thing you know, walk, walk, walk. It starts to get easier and easier and easier and easier because the new habit starts to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Pretty soon your dog goes, not such a big deal anymore. Don't really care about that thing. That thing that used to freak me out, that dog, that bag, that whatever it is, the car, the bike, the whatever. If you block it, if you correct it, if you make that choice uncomfortable to where the dog has to make a different choice, the dog will make a different choice. And eventually that different choice will become your dog's default, your dog's way, your dog's new way. It takes time, it takes consistency. But I'm telling you, that's how you get there. And that is how you get a dog to listen to the training, not to what they're worried about. I hope that makes sense. Let's see if I got any other notes for you. Yeah, so the dog may be genetically just predisposed to being fearful. But that doesn't really change anything. We get plenty of genetically kind of, compromised dogs that are fearful just the way they come. Not even from bad experiences, not even from anything terrible happening. They're just fearful. They need your leadership, your guidance, your structure, your rules, your accountability, even more than a dog that might have just learned it, right? So a dog that's like genetically challenged with that stuff needs like the highest level of help holding the dog's hand. And I don't mean in an enabling kind of nurturing way. I mean in like holding your dog's hand and like, follow me, I'm leading you, I'm guiding you, don't worry about that. That's what you're looking for with the dog. So anybody who's trying to get puzzles, food distractions, or avoidance of a massive level is not helping your dog move through the process. So your question was, do I need to find a new trainer? My answer would be unequivocally yes. You need to find a trainer that actually knows how to change these behaviors and get good results, and you should look for videos of them with a lot of dogs getting those results over and over and over again. If not, then I would just keep looking until you find a trainer that can do that, because what this trainer is propagating sounds like a bunch of silliness to me. It sounds like a great way to give you some information about some stuff that doesn't actually do anything. How is a food puzzle going to stop fear? How's a food puzzle, like, is it supposed to create a positive association? I'm so baffled by it. I don't know. And the avoidance isn't going to do anything except avoid. It doesn't create any progress. So we don't want to put the dog in the fire, but we need to get the dog trained up and into a really incredible space to where you can start closing the distance slowly and start making that comfort zone for your dog, right? Start closing it in to where the comfort zone's actually bigger, if that makes sense. It almost sounds like counterintuitive, but if your dog's comfort zone is 100 yards, you want to slowly move it down to 75, 50, 25, 20, 10. You don't need to do any kind of passing right by a dog, but you do want to close that gap eventually, but that only happens when you use really fantastic training to get the dog to think about the training and not the thing it's worried about. I hope that helps. And any questions, hit us up in the comments. And on to Laura and her question.
Okay, nice. Question number 2 is for me. Steph, question number 2 says, I was wondering what made you choose the Educator over everything else out there. I saw in some of your older videos you had used the Dogtra. What made you switch to the Educator? Okay, so I asked the question, now I'm gonna answer it. I'm at a different setting. I'm here in the park. I've got Cujo. I've got the baby, of course. Okay, so the answer to this one, Steph, it's a great question. We did used to use the Dogtra. We used to use the Dogtra IQ and the Dogtra 280 and the Dogtra 1900. And I used to be a big 1900 fan for my 2 dogs. I still am. I still like Dogtra. I think what happened with Educator, with e-collar technologies, the reason why we love that so much is their customer service is so on point. If any time we had an issue with a collar or anything like that, we just have our clients email them customer service at ecollar.com or whatever, sales at ecollar.com, and they would get back to them like same day, send them out a new unit, give them shipping back, make it really, really easy for our clients to return collars if there were issues. It's not like there were many issues, but it's just so nice to have that. I unfortunately had a not great experience with Dogtra customer service, just personally. I ordered a collar, which I was really excited about, and it came and it just felt like it was maybe a little bit cheaper than I had before with the Dogtra 1900. It just didn't have the same feel and all that stuff. So I tried to return it, and long story short, it just wasn't like the best customer service experience, especially after dealing with Greg over at ecollar.com. And I know Dogtra's a great company, so I'm not disparaging them. I just know that that was something that factored into what we did. But for the longest time, what got me into e-collars was Dogtra. Still, if our clients have a Dogtra and they come to us with a Dogtra, we're happy to use it. We just prefer Educator or the e-collar technologies because of all those things. Just in terms of e-collar, or the Educator or a Dogtra versus any other collar that's out there, the reason why we go with that, 9, there's a dog on the loose. The reason why we go with that versus other collars is because it has 100 levels, and when you have 100 levels, you have much more nuance to be able to work with obedience and all that stuff. Some of the other collars that have like 8 levels, that's just, there's not enough nuance there. A 2 might be too high, a 1 might be too low. You end up maybe being too high on a dog or being too low where he doesn't care at all. So we just like having those 100 levels. You also have headroom. Even if the dog works and you only use it like a 10 on the dog, you have all this headroom to be able to correct if the dog was running out in the street or running towards something you don't want, or pick something up that they don't want to drop that could be dangerous to them. You do have all that headroom. So we like those 100 levels, or with the Dogtra, obviously you have 127 levels on the bigger collars. So that's why we choose that. And they're just sturdy collars. They just last longer, and there's all that good stuff. So that is why we choose what we choose. And I have Cujo going crazy right now for a dog. So I hope that helps. ecollar.com is where we get our e-collars. You can also get them off Amazon. But yeah, okay, thanks. Question number 3 comes from Penny Lee. She says, hi, I was wondering what your thoughts are on using a martingale along with an e-collar. My dog is currently on the prong, but her skin is very sensitive to it and she often breaks out into a rash. I've tried using rubber bumps, but they just fall off, and I'm worried in emergency situations. Last week I took her to Griffith Park and there were 3 horses behind us. I pulled over to decide to let the horses pass, but Penny went crazy. She wasn't scared, it was more that she just wanted to go after the horses. I had no idea that horses were prey for dogs. I figured that out too. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, they're bigger. It's so weird to me. It was the first time she pulled so hard that I was worried I'd let go. I was also worried because she was so driven that even if the prong had ripped into her skin, it wouldn't have made a difference. And just on regular walks, I feel like no matter how hard I pop, it doesn't make a difference when she sees something that really catches her eye, like another dog. For these reasons, I'd like to switch to a martingale with an e-collar. Would a regular martingale be good enough for directional purposes? Thanks so much. Penny will actually be at your LA facility in a few weeks, so I'm looking forward to resetting our relationship. Oh, cool. I'm also really looking forward to getting your book, Grace. Awesome. Okay, so the angels will obviously settle this at TGD, but this is a good start. Sean's answer, I'm sure.
Okay, gang, so thank you, Laura Morgan. Appreciate the question. So we've got Miss Penny, who's having some irritation, concerns, prong collar concerns, things like that. She didn't know her dog was going to be interested in dogs, or that interested in horses, or that horses were prey animals. Why, yes, they are, and lots of dogs love to chase and try and bite horses. So now you know. So you're talking about irritation with the prong collar. First thing I'd check on is, do you have kind of a cheap generic collar from like Petco or PetSmart or something like that, where the edges are sharp, right? You want a Herm Springer prong collar which have rounded edges, right? Rounded tips. And so even you're saying the plastic ones fall off, that doesn't sound like a very good collar. The plastic tips should stay on if you need them, but honestly, like the Herm Springer, here's what I'm gonna run down the list for you. Herm Springer is like the best prong collar going. Rounded tips should be easy on your dog's neck. Plastic tips, if you get a good solid collar, you should be able to keep those things on. If not, put some crazy glue on them and keep those babies on there. Now, your dog may be incredibly sensitive and easily irritated, or your dog may have an allergy, in which case, just the prong collar being on the dog's neck, not about pressure or anything, might be irritating the dog's neck. In which case, I would go to like pawmark.com or dog.com and look for the, I think it's Kurigan. It's hard, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. It's kind of like an orangey rust-colored prong collar made by Hermspringer, and I don't know if it's hypoallergenic, but it will prevent the allergy issues if that's part of the issue. So, but getting to the meat of this question. So you really want to know if you can go to a martingale collar rather than a prong, because it sounds like you're worried about the prong collar impaling your dog when your dog gets really activated, interested, elevated, overwhelmed, freaked out, you know, add whatever word you want. The horses are a good example. So, sorry, we got flies. The Hermspringer collar, the prong collar itself, is designed to spread pressure evenly around the neck. You are not going to impale your dog on the prong collar. Hear me with this. You're not going to impale your dog. Even if your dog's had some irritation from just the collar being on, it's not going to impale your dog. I've never seen it, right? Have I seen irritation? Of course I've seen irritation. Most of the time I see irritation on like pitties where the collar's up high and the chain goes through the little ring and the chain just kind of like pinches a little bit, pinches the skin. But that's not the prongs. That's not the part everybody thinks is like, oh, it's hurting the dog. That's just where the chain goes through. That's what I've seen most, right? So you're not gonna impale your dog. Are you gonna do more damage with a martingale when your dog goes crazy? Absolutely. Your dog is gonna pull so hard on that martingale, it'll do more damage to your dog than any prong collar would. Not to mention, the safety level goes out the window if you're using a martingale. All of a sudden, you've got no leverage. You've got a dog that's in high drive for prey and pulling and going, and hey, that didn't work. You've got a dog in high prey drive, and you're gonna try and restrain the dog with the martingale. I know you're talking about the dog being on e-collar. Doesn't matter. If the dog blows through the e-collar or you don't correct soon enough or you don't have good enough control with that, now you've got a dog on a martingale that's gonna be happy to pull, and it might just pull right out of your hand, right? Or it might not pull out of your hand and just put gobs and gobs of pressure right here in one spot, because that's what happens when you pull like that. So I would highly, highly recommend that you don't ditch the prong, that instead you look for a prong that doesn't irritate your dog's neck, and that would be round edges. If you need to do the rubber tips, so be it. Crazy glue them on. If you want to try a Kurigan collar, they're not crazy expensive. Try ordering one of those. But I'm telling you, the reason all our clients go home with prong collars and e-collars is for safety, right? And yes, we talk about, you said like we'll give it enough directional information. That's really secondary. The prong collar as a directional tool for an e-collar that doesn't have directionality, yes, that's super helpful and super valuable, but it's way down on the list. The top part of the list is safety. Safety for our client and safety for the dog. So that's why we recommend prong collars, because even with e-collars on the dog, if something like you just had where the dog goes ballistic and you don't have enough control of the dog, your dog can get away, could go after the horse, could get killed by the horse, could just run away and get hit by a car. You could get hurt, you could get damaged, all sorts of things can happen. So let's not get rid of the prong. Let's just find the answer for making sure that the prong is working the best that it can. And to be honest, if you're getting a lot of irritation from it, I wonder how much pressure you're actually having on the prong. The prong should be like neutral. If you've done e-collar work with your dog, the prong should be neutral when you're walking the dog. There shouldn't be any pressure on it. The dog should be in heel, and the e-collar should be keeping the dog right where you need him. And the prong collar is only there for directional guidance and backup for safety. And that's it. So those are a bunch of things to check in on. But if I was you, no way would I get rid of that prong collar, especially if I had a dog with prey drive. You're asking for trouble for both your dog and you. All right? Hope that helps.
Okay, question 4 for me again. Anne says, I have a Romanian rescue dog from 16 weeks old, is now 3.5 years. After 2 years following positive training, we now have a well-trained dog who knows all commands and countless tricks, but guess what? Has a few things that need to be addressed. Fear of strangers, fear of traffic just outside our property, so it's unavoidable, high prey drive, scanning on a walk, being on edge, high prey drive, and the hardest for us is unable to deal with visitors to the house. If left to her own, we'll rush at people lunging, barking, and nip at feet if people turn away. So obviously we don't allow him to do this. So all in all, not very well trained at all. We found it amazing that even though it would appear through our own common sense that he's always been crated at night and when left, follows protocols for food and thresholds and not overly fussed him just because he's a rescue, we've still ended up with so many issues. Having a few months ago thankfully found both yours and Jeff Gelman's posts and videos, we now realize there might be a few gaps here. For example, learning no and consequences, learning to be calm and chill, and to trust us when we look out for him. We have the e-collar now and have started laying foundation, including place, and making some progress, so that's good. We're also due to see you and Jeff in West Sussex in July, so exciting. So here's my question at last. What would be the best thing out of the issues on the list to work on prior to the seminar? Oh, and we are expecting your book any day now, fingers crossed. Thank you. Awesome. This is a great question, and it's so funny that she said that, you know, the things are just a few things that are missing, like calm dog and a dog that can actually, you know, do some commands and actually know the word no, things like that. Those things get left out a lot. So it's kind of funny when you put it, but honestly, like so many people that come to us, those are the pieces that have been left out. So I'm gonna cut to me somewhere else answering this question. Okay, so in all honesty, I've tried to film this question like 5 times, and some has been interrupted by Mr. Thing here, and some has also just been interrupted by my thoughts not quite making sense. So I'm really gonna do my best right now to finish this question because this is like take 4. And bear with me here. Okay, so I should put all the other takes in there, but I think I've deleted them now because I've been so annoyed. You need a strong foundation with prong collar, and you need a strong foundation with e-collar, using the training that you already have as the base, as the foundation, before you layer the prong and e-collar on top of it. So don't think that all of the training you've done before now has been wasted. Just think of it as a nice base. And why we layer the prong and e-collar on top of this stuff is because we want your dog to be super accountable so that you can actually get a state of mind change, right? So you said, okay, I've got a super trained dog, if you will, but I don't have calm, I don't have a dog that knows consequences, all this stuff. So what we need to do is you need to layer the prong and e-collar training over what you've already learned. I already said that, I know. Over what the dog's already learned, and then you need to make the dog super accountable in every other moment, not just when guests come to the door, not when you're just out on a walk, not when you're trying to get all that other stuff, but for every other moment, because every other moment is gonna feed into your dog actually taking you seriously and then actually being able to change his behavior in moments that really matter. So it's kind of like, you need to start from square one. You've already started with place, that's awesome. You need to get all that foundation, prong collar, e-collar, just like we do. Our free videos, you can check out this link, YouTube, go to our YouTube channel, or you can order our DVDs off our website, whatever works for you, but you need to start from the beginning and you need to just work up. Don't worry about correcting the behavior with the guests over. Don't worry about any of the big stuff right now. You just need strong foundation with your dog to actually be accountable to all the behaviors that he knows already, but hasn't been accountable to yet because you've just been treat training. So once you get all that foundation, that's what I would say is probably the most important thing for you to do right now before you meet Sean and Jeff. Get all that foundation. prong collar training, the walk, recall, place, sit, down, and then layer the e-collar over it, and you should have a good thing. But take your time with that. I don't know when they come to town, but you probably have a month or two. Really spend some time. Put the dog away when guests come over, just like you've been doing. Don't worry about that stuff. You need to get a strong foundation of respect and accountability right now before you move to the big leagues. I hope that makes sense. Go to our free videos. I'm sorry, I feel like that wasn't the greatest answer, but it's truly what you need to do. You need to just start straight over using the work that you've already done. And then when you see Sean and Jeff, you're gonna get to have some more time to like actually fine-tune the stuff that you really need to do with the dog. I hope that makes sense. Question number 5 comes from Michelle. Michelle says, could you elaborate more on the follow command that you teach? It would be very useful for casual walks or hikes when I want the dogs to stay with me but not in a heel. I have your e-collar videos which I've used to get a great heel, but the follow would be great for hikes this summer. Thanks for all that you do. Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, so thank you again, Miss Morgan, the mysterious, ghostly Miss Morgan, who usually is here but is not here. So thanks for reading that. So how do we go about creating the follow command? Good news is, so good. The good news is it's actually really easy. So it is cool, but it's not a hard one to do. And it's one that we really kind of stumbled on because we're always looking for how to make things simple. There's a lot of trainers that teach off-leash heel, which is really tight, really specific, and a lot of like family pets aren't really cut out for that. Not to mention, a lot of family pet owners aren't looking for like a military heel off-leash. If you are, you go create it. But most of the owners, or I should say all the owners we've dealt with, have just been extremely happy that their dogs follow them. And so here's the deal with follow. Follow came about because we didn't want to add, we wanted the dog to be able to move with the client, but we didn't want to add another command and create this other thing of like, you know, let's go, or we weren't going to say heel because we weren't trying to create a heel. We wanted something where the dog was just following. And so we messed with it a bit. And basically what we came up with was our follow command. And like I said, it's nothing revolutionary. It's pretty simple. Basically all it is using primarily recall to create a bubble of how much space your dog kind of hangs in as you move. So I wrote some notes for you, and I'm going to read them because I want to make sure they're right. So first, master e-collar heel. And there's a reason for that. So mastering e-collar heel really gets, even though we're not teaching the dog to heel, it teaches the dog to travel with you. It teaches the dog to ignore things around it. It teaches the dog not to put its nose constantly on the ground. It teaches the dog not to be targeting and looking for stuff. So that's a really important foundational aspect, right? We've got movement with us, and we've got good mindset, focus, not that the dog has to be looking at us, but focus about being present with us. So e-collar heel is absolutely an essential piece from our perspective. Then you need to create a great, fantastic, amazing e-collar recall, right? And so e-collar recall basically means come to me, right? So think about it. Aren't we genius? It's so like simple, it's like ridiculous to like, you know, I'm giving myself props, but it's really, I'm just having fun because it's just such an easy one. Not that the question is dumb, but like just what it is just kind of very simple and just really easy. So like I said, good news. So here it is. If you're traveling, or let's say this, if recall means that your dog has to come to you, right? Then cool, that's the first piece of it. You get that rock solid. But what happens when you start moving and you start giving your dog recall commands? What's your dog going to do? It's going to come to you, right? So that's how we kind of worked the follow command, is that we just morphed it from like a standing still recall, which is like, I'm standing here, come, and the dog comes to you, sit or place or break, whatever you want to do. And then we realized that we could keep moving and say, come, and the dog would come to us, And because we don't teach this real formal recall to sit or recall to heel, meaning come to one side, it gives us a lot of latitude. Now, if we taught it really like militantly, like every recall needs to end up with you front in a sit like this, or every recall needs to end up with you in a heel, could be problematic, because then the dog's confused. The dog thinks recall means a whole series of events, right? But that's not how we teach our recall. Our recall is recall to place, recall to our general vicinity, travel with us, recall to maybe a sit, but not all the time, right? So what we do is we keep recall in a more general sense, which means just come to us and then we'll tell you what to do from there. Does that make sense? So rather than recall being this really complex behavior that has a finish to it, it's recall, come hang out with us, and then we'll let you know what we need from you from there. So what we do is we call the dog. Dog can be on place, dog can be anywhere, dog can be across the room. Come, dog comes to you, you start moving. Well, you said recall, you said come, so the dog's like, well, I guess I'll hustle with you because you're still moving, and recall means to come to you, right? So the dog starts moving with you. Now, however tight you want that to be depends on how tight or how frequent you kind of remind the dog, right? So if you want to say, I want the dog really, really close to me, then don't let the dog maneuver out. Don't let the dog, dogs will mess with it, and they'll try and see where the boundaries are at. They're like, if I recall to you and you're moving, can I be like 10 feet behind you? No, it's too far. Come. Dog closes the distance. Good. Dog keeps moving with you. Starts to move backwards. Come. Oh, dog closes the distance, learns, oh, okay, I need to be closer, right? So that's the basic concept. Now you can also add in like break. So you can recall the dog. You could be out on a hike, right? And you want to check the dog in with you. So you're hiking, call the dog recalls to you, hey, good boy, break, and you let the dog go, and the dog can take off and actually be like out of your little cocoon or your little bubble. And so there's a lot of ways to work it, but basically the follow command means recall in motion. Like, just keep it really simple. I know I gave you a bunch of different ideas so you can kind of like conceptualize it and think about how you could apply it, but it's really that simple. We've taught a dog to come to us, and if we're in motion, then the dog comes to us and stays in motion with us. And if he forgets or gets distracted, we remind him, come, and he comes and travels with us. And that's really the follow command. It's really that simple. The only reason that it would be more complicated is if you were teaching a more complicated recall, like I said, that had a very specific way of finishing, because then your dog would be confused. You'd call him in, come, and he'd be like, I gotta come around, but you're moving, what the hell do I do? Or I've gotta come around into a perfect heel, something like that. And like, we're not teaching that stuff. We're keeping it extremely simple, right? Our clients don't want or need this like militant, like bang heel. All they want is when they call the dog comes, and if they want the dog to move with them, that's it. So that's why the follow command works. We don't say follow, we just use recall. It's that easy. Like anytime we can slice off a command and keep things working well, we're all for it. Clients don't need more commands, they need less commands. That's always our focus. How do we simplify? How do we simplify? How do we simplify? And when we found out that we could get dogs to travel with us without having to do any other commands, just by using recall, and everybody's concern, here's the cool thing, or the funny part, is that they think it's going to degrade the recall. They think it's going to cause a dog to not recall to them in the same way. We haven't seen that at all, right? It's very contextual. The dog starts to see, the dogs are so smart, they start to see, oh, we're doing that follow thing. I get it. Or when you go out and you stand out in your yard and you stand still and you say, come, sit, your dog's like, haha, I know what this is. This is that recall where you're gonna like ask me to do something else, like come in and sit, or come in and lay down, or whatever you're gonna do, or play tug or something like that. That's really it, guys. Dogs are super smart. Dogs can definitely like read our minds and know what we're looking for, especially when we pattern them correctly. So you pattern them with follow, they're gonna understand that's what we're doing. You pattern them with a stationary body coming in and then ask for a sit, they're gonna know That's what one of those things are. They're not gonna just blow by you. We see it every day. It works like a charm. I hope that explains it. Just remember, out of everything else, just think about it as recall with motion. That's it. Dogs have a very easy time with it. Keep it simple, keep it clear, keep it simple, and you guys will be rocking and rolling. I hope that makes sense. Any questions, hit me up, let me know, and I'll do my best to clarify. Other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. Sorry about the little ranty rant at the top of this one, but I'm gonna have to get in there and, excuse me, ban and delete some of that nastiness because I don't like to have it on my page. I could respond to all those people and have 14-hour-long dialogues because, you know, going back and forth, because they seem to have a lot of time on their hands, probably because they're not training dogs, but I will just get rid of them and send them to the cornfield. Anybody who knows that reference, hit me up. Hit me up in the comments if you know the cornfield reference. That's always my reference for when I send people to places where you won't see them again. Anyways, so that's that. We are fighting the good fight though, guys. There is a battle going on. Me and Jeff are going to the UK, talk about a documentary going on, or there's talk about it. And there's a battle going on for tools, for methodology, but mostly for, I think, how we perceive dogs and how we live with dogs and common sense. And for some reason, common sense has been left behind in preference of emotional projection of those that need to feel like they protect the animals in order to protect themselves. That's my true belief. I truly believe that these idealistic ideologues that are so incredibly deep in this battle are really looking to try and rescue themselves. They're not rescuing the dogs, they're rescuing themselves. They're trying to empower themselves from being disempowered. They're trying to reconcile or rectify trauma that they've experienced themselves. So the dogs just happen to be the perfect opportunity for them to try and, I really think, heal themselves. And unfortunately, it's not about the dogs, it's not about the owners, because if it was, they'd be prioritizing whatever helps. They wouldn't be prioritizing whatever feels right to them. I think that's important. Anyways, Sean from The Good Dog, I'm out of here. This was a wordy one. I hope you could hang with it, and I hope there was some value in it, and I'll talk with you guys soon. All right, take care.
Okay, awesome guys. Thanks so much for bearing with me for the question part of all this. The baby is still in the bathroom just chilling, so that's awesome. We got through this without major baby antics. So I love you guys. Thanks for bearing with us.